recording for this evening's session. So tonight we've got a webinar focused really on the wonders of STEM ambassadors, and the strapline for the BCS is making IT good for society, and part of that, we believe, is to support our young learners in their progress, interest, and so on through school, and onto further education. So we've got quite a number of experts here and quite a number of speakers. So we're going to try and run this through as best we can. So you can maybe bear with us as we move forward. Okay. But just to start with, I'm going to do a very quick presentation around BCS membership. Okay. So let me just. Okay, so as I mentioned, making IT good for society. So BCS 1957, really, it's the professional organisation for IT with a royal charter, and we put professionalism really at the heart of what we do. Over 50,000 members worldwide, and that breaks down into a huge variety of events. There are local branch memberships. There is also special interest groups that go across the country and indeed worldwide. We'll hear more about this this evening, but there's also a strong support for our young learners, and that's the main focus of tonight's presentation. In terms of membership, people join for all sorts of reasons, really, but invariably it's to show their level of professionalism within their chosen subject field. And as well as personal development, of course, we're supporting the, I guess, the ethos of making IT good for society, really. In terms of the benefits, career development and recognition, of course, but knowledge access, importantly, and a strong link into community through the branch and special interest group network. There's also a strong code of conduct, so to back up that professionalism approach. And in terms of grades of membership, there's affiliate through student, associate, professional, and then into fellow. So a wide range of routes into membership. And going further forward for further recognition to achieve chartered status, the BCS is the only organisation to enable chartered status for IT professionals. In terms of the committee, we've got a strong committee now, and each committee has its own portfolio. So one of our committee members, Tim Chapman, will be presenting this evening, along with the rest of the other experts. In terms of where we are, we've got just under 600 members. That's a broad spread of who we are. And we have a strong focus now into Key University and Staffordshire University as we seek to reach to the not just the young learners, but also the undergraduate in our area. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you very much indeed. I'd like to pass you over to the first of our experts this evening, and that's Neil. Hello, Neil.
Thanks, Charlie. All right, okay, so let's see if all this wonderful technology works. So can you see my PowerPoint presentation? Okay, lovely. Right, thank you very much. Okay, I hesitate at being called an expert. Thanks for that, Charlie. Partly because of the old joke that X as in has been and spurt as in drip under pressure. But also because expert implies that you know everything there is to know about it, and that is far from the case. We are in a developing landscape, and we are trying our best to navigate these interesting times that we have. I mean, for one, I've never lived through a global pandemic before, let alone try to teach or help teachers achieve their potential through the CPD that we support them with. So I'd like to use the term expert very loosely, if that's all right. So a little bit about me. My name is Neil Crumpton, and I represent the North Midlands Science Learning Partnership and the North Midlands Computing Hub. My background is as a telecoms engineer. Started out at university through real-time embedded systems. I was on the team that developed ADSL and fibre to the home. We were the research arm for Nortel, as was, and we developed these and proved that it was possible. So because of that, we've got these wonderful technologies today. I then went into teaching, 16 years teaching, 9.5 as a head of department, physics being my specialism rather than IT, which was a bit strange, seeing as how I've got an engineering and IT background, but that was what the call was. And now I'm helping teachers to deliver quality science education and computing education. So what I thought I'd do today is just give you all a bit of a background about where we are, how the North Midlands Science Learning Partnership and the North Midlands Computing Hub fit into the Staffordshire picture. So I'd like to start off with this picture that looks really complicated, but is actually fairly straightforward. We're going to start at the very top with the DFE. The DFE basically fund both STEM learning and the National Centre for Computing Education. STEM learning also fund the National Centre for Computing Education. So basically there's a stream of money coming from the DFE through STEM learning to support the work of STEM learning and the National Centre for Computing Education. The NCCE is also funded and supported by Raspberry Pi and the BCS, and they are partners in the consortium with STEM learning to fund that work and direct the direction of the NCCE. Entrust, who we've got in the middle at the bottom here in the local deliverers section, just here, they are responsible for all of the STEM Ambassador Hub work. So STEM Ambassadors is a stream of work that comes under the umbrella of STEM learning. And these are people in industry who can go into schools, go and support people. And I know Rachel is going to be talking to you a little bit later about everything that entails. The NCCE have a teacher-facing branch called Teach Computing, and the North Midlands Computing Hub is responsible for delivering that across the North Midlands area from Telford and Wrekin throughout Staffordshire, Staffs Moorlands, all the way up through Derbyshire. And we also have the North Midlands Science Learning Partnership. Both of these are hosted by Potteries Educational Trust based at Stoke Sixth Form College. Then we also have from the BCS, the Computing at School, the CAS organisation, and they support and augment and supplement the work that we're doing with the teachers through the hub. And Tim Wilson will be giving you some more information about that. But we are there to support that work that they do and to drive that work forward as well. So it's kind of like a joined up offer. So we've got teacher training and we also have teacher support through the Computing at School. So we've got this big national picture of national organisations. And then within the Staffordshire area, we've got the North Midlands Science Learning Partnership, Entrust, and the North Midlands Computing Hub. Just to give you a bit of a picture for reach and engagement for the Computing Hub. So this is a snapshot of our reach and engagement at the moment. So this is our area that we cover. There's a little bit of Staffordshire missing from our area because of the way the borders work. But we've got Stafford and Staffordshire and East Staffs and places like that. And this gives you a bit of a snapshot as to the sorts of numbers of teachers we've been dealing with over the last year or so, and our reach within primary and secondary schools. So what I've done is I've extracted that data just to give you a bit of a flavour as to where Staffordshire and the Staffordshire Local Authority districts sit in terms of engagement. So here we've got Telford and Wrekin at the top. So Telford and Wrekin engaged really well to start with. Their engagement has actually dropped off at the moment, and we're trying to re-engage them. But their primary schools were really supportive at the outset. And so they got 108 teachers and 29 schools. And then down at the bottom, we've got Bolsover with only 3 teachers and 1 of each school. Now, obviously, you've got to take these stats with a slight pinch of salt because they are exact numbers rather than a percentage of schools. So Bolsover is quite a small area, so it does have fewer schools than, say, Stoke-on-Trent. But if we look down where the Staffordshire areas sit in our reach and engagement table, if you like, league table, Staffs Moorlands is engaging really nicely, and Stoke-on-Trent, but then we drop down. Stafford, we're finding it harder to gain traction along with East Staffordshire, and Newcastle under Lyme is an area where we need to really make some inroads. So if you are in any of those areas, please do come forward and talk to us about what you can do to support the work. And I know my colleagues tonight are going to give you more information about what you can do to support our work through the routes that they offer. But just one of the things that you can do to support our work directly is the first thing that you can follow us on Twitter, because that will give us an increased reach and engagement, especially if you retweet our tweets to your contacts, and if you can tag in people at your local schools. So if you're, your primary teacher or your head, and you can tag them into it and retweet those, because what we do is we share information that is pertinent to the courses that we're running, but also information that's about computing in general. So we have quite a popular hashtag Fact Friday. So every Friday we tweet a new fact about computing. The latest one was about the development of optical fibres, and the work of Charles Kao in the 60s, but Alexander Graham Bell being the first person to invent an optical fibre. So anything you can do to help increase the reach and engagement through that would be good. And also, if you've got any local schools that you know of that think actually they could probably benefit with some help and support on their computing curriculum, please either email me directly and say, here's a contact, or email them and ask them to get in touch with me, and we can put them into our program and we can give them the support. All of our program is bursary funded at secondary level, so there's no cost to the school. In fact, there's actually a positive for every person that graduates from our computer science accelerator program. The school benefits to the tune of £1,800. So it's well worth it because they can then invest that money. We have one school in Derbyshire who's just put 17 teachers through the computer science accelerator program so that they can upgrade their infrastructure to allow them to deliver computer science, because as it stood, they didn't even have a Wi-Fi network in the school. So now they can do that, having put their teachers through this. So anything you can do, anyone you can point in our direction would be gratefully received. Okay, so that's all from me tonight. I'm around for the question and answers. I'm now going to slide into the background and hand over to my equivalent, Chris Whitty. So that's Tim Wilson, because I'm going to be next slide, please.
Thank you very much. That's quite the comparison. Thanks, Neil. Cool. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Charlie, for inviting all of us here this evening, and it's a real pleasure to be here. I'm just going to talk a little bit about computing at school. First of all, my name is Tim Wilson. I'm one of a team of community outreach managers that work for Computing at School. So our role is to manage computing at school across the regions. My regions are the West and the East Midlands region. And next slide, please. Thank you. So CAS has been going since 2009. We are a grassroots network, over 30,000 members that include educators and teachers in schools and colleges across the UK at all educational stages. We have over 400 volunteer CAS community leaders, and these community leaders run what we call communities of practice. In fact, there are some CAS community leaders in the room, including Matt Hogan, who will be speaking in a bit. And the idea of our CAS communities is to support teachers to build their confidence in expertise, to share ideas and resources, and to provide a very safe space and a shared space for learning and conversation. There are more things, of course, that we cover. We are also, as Neil rightly pointed out, we are the academic lead partner on the NCCE, and what we do within the NCCE is to support the professional development of computing teachers from primary through to A-level, so that they can be the inspirational teachers that changes people's lives. And it very much builds directly on the foundations of the CAS network and the volunteer-led communities of practice. Very much our approach is on the ground. By on the ground, of course, I do mean online. And everything we do is run voluntarily by teachers and educators. And as I say, very much it's about CPD, building increased confidence and insights in computing education, but also it's about providing a very supportive community of like-minded teachers to call on. So part of what we do is to develop resources, run webinars, we're developing videos, podcasts, and driving a lot of activity through social media across Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So, very much in that BCS aim, we want to ensure that every child is prepared for the digital world and their futures. And the emphasis is on the social and economic impact that underpins our work. So, Charlie pointed out earlier, how BCS works closely with universities and further education colleges and apprenticeship providers. So, as part of the academy within BCS, CAS sits within that. So, we are part of that same academy that accredits computing courses at universities to ensure that they provide the academic foundations for chartered status. And we also offer training for digital IT apprenticeship standards and other qualifications too. See that Neil's already gone to the next slide. That's fine. So there are basically three key aims here. First of all, the vision. So, whilst we say every child and a world-class computing education, this is about engaging young people in computing education as part of that broad STEM piece. So in a minute, you're going to hear from Tim and from Rachel about STEM ambassadors. And, this is very much, we join up and work very closely with our partners, because we want to address the wider skills gap within the region and also more locally within Stoke and Staffordshire. And we want to attract young people into future careers in the STEM arena. Secondly, in terms of our purpose, we want to ensure that teachers have everything they need to be able to deliver the computing curriculum to the best of their abilities, and also have the confidence to deliver across every phase of the national curriculum. And thirdly, we support teachers at every phase in their careers. So whether it's student teachers making their choice to become teachers, whether it's teachers making the move to become computing leads, or even supporting at a very strategic level heads of department, deputy heads, and head teachers. Many of our community leaders, especially in primary, are head teachers. So, we understand that strategic imperative, and we want to enable teachers to deliver computing confidently in the curriculum. Next slide, please, Neil. So, this is a few things that we that will tie very closely into the upcoming presentations. Your help is very important to us. It helps us to meet the future demands of the local and national economy. We want to ensure that we're aiming that 3 times as many young people leave school as they do now with a computer science GCSE. We want more females taking computer science, GCSE, A-level and degrees. And that also ties across, as I say, to STEM subjects too. We also want non-computer science teachers to understand and use IT better. And more fundamentally, we want all teachers to understand social media harms and how young people are using social media. That is a very important area for us right now. And we want to make teachers in schools more aware of the career routes that are available. So when we tie in closely with what Tim and Rachel are doing within STEM Ambassadors Hub, it is very much about raising awareness and giving schools the opportunity to have great experiences and understand the future careers piece. So Matt will talk about equipment and support to schools shortly, but that is another big agenda. We want to see local employers engage more with schools, whether it is STEM ambassadors networks, T-levels, bigger jobs, all of these will be discussed shortly. And we want to get young people and teachers excited and more aware of the careers routes available to them. So there's a few things there to consider. Next slide, please. And these are currently our CAS communities of practice in the local area. So as I say, there are over 300 communities across the country. We are looking for more CAS community leaders all the time. So, you know, if you have links to schools, whether as parents, whether as maybe your local governor of a local school, and, you know, please point them in direction of CAS. Please encourage them to get involved today as CAS members. We want to grow these local communities of practice because these are the voices of teachers, and it's through that we can grow and make a case for computer science education. And last slide, please. So yeah, that's me. That's my contact details. CAS Midlands is my Twitter and my Instagram handle. So much like Neil, encouraging you to follow the Computing Hub SOT. Follow me at CAS Midlands too, and yeah, please retweet, get involved in conversations, and love to talk about how you can support us further. Charlie, thank you, and that's me. Thanks, Neil. Who's next?
Thank you, Tim. I think Matt is next, isn't he?
Okay.
Hello,
hello. Okay, let's go for it. Let me present my slides. Okay, thumbs up if we can see that. Brilliant, excellent. Hi everybody, well, welcome. Thank you again for your attendance today. Really appreciative of your time. Nice hot day today. I'm sure we're chilling out a bit now, the temperature's gone down outside. But yeah, really good to see you all here. So my name's Matt Hogan. I'm a learning manager at the Raspberry Pi Foundation. And I live in Kidsgrove, so that's why I'm here, just because of the location. I'm local to your branch. Before I was at the Raspberry Pi Foundation, so about a year and a half ago, I was a computing ICT teacher in secondary schools around Staffordshire and the Northwest for 20 years. So I've been all those job titles like e-learning coordinator, key skills coordinator, taught different subjects like GNVQs, NVQs, ECDLs, applied A-level, applied GCSE, all those, you know, myriad of things that we do as teachers. So yeah, I went into the Raspberry Pi Foundation as part of sort of supporting the NCC, the National Computing College for Education, and doing the online courses specifically for teachers to teach GCSE computer science. And then eventually, we're not going to get into it tonight, but eventually they'll get some sort of qualification, the Computer Science Accelerator. So training teachers through online learning. And this was happening, you know, way before the pandemic as well. So we actually have seen our numbers increase a lot, which is great news. So all that's still going on, and that is still my role really, is looking after all the online courses for the NCC and the CSA, and also looking at Isaac GCSE. So getting some GCSE resources together, which are student facing as part of the Isaac computing platform, if you know about that. But what I'm here tonight about is I sort of got myself into a sort of you know, when you volunteer yourself and then you think, oh, should I have done that? Should I be doing that? But so as part of the Raspberry Pi Foundation, we have this program called Pi Drop or Stay Connected, which has been really, really popular around the country, but not in North Staffordshire. And to understand sort of the context of this, I don't know if everyone understands what Raspberry Pi do. So a little introduction, we basically we make little single circuit board computers, $35. And so at the price point of $35, it's, you know, very accessible for all. And part of the Raspberry Pi Foundation's mission is to get digital making and creativity into everybody's hands, young people's hands. So no matter who they are, where they come from, there should be no barrier for them to be part of this amazing digital physical computing world that we live in. So that's one way that we've got the trading area, the trading company that basically make all these sort of things, and then they fund the foundation, which is the side I'm working on, to encourage everybody to get involved in digital making. It doesn't have to be through the Raspberry Pi, but it can be. And that's another thing. That's a Raspberry Pi Pico board, which is a little data controller, which we've just released as well. I'll come back to those later on in the presentation. But that's what the Raspberry Pi is and the Raspberry Pi Foundation does. So what's happened? So why I got myself into a bit of a pickle was because I volunteered for this project that started to happen at the start of the pandemic of Pi Drop or Stay Connected. And we distribute free, we'll come back to the free, desktop kits to disadvantaged young people in the UK. So initially it was to help them, you know, stop them falling behind further in their education because of the pandemic. It started off with the Bloomsfield Trust, which funded our pilot, and we've got ways of distribution happening all the time. We've got, so for example, this week, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Vodafone in Ireland have funded some Pi Drops, so like thousands of Pi's going out. And we collaborate with charity partners, which is important. So it's not just like giving them away. We collaborate with charity partners that have to have someone in control of the kit that we give away. So yeah, they know who to distribute it to, who it would benefit the most, who they're in contact with. Some charities will have caseworkers and stuff like that. But we also do schools as well. So if we get some funding and we can then distribute Raspberry Pi's desktop kits via schools. And that's the other sort of model that we use. And so far, this is up to date of last week, we've distributed 4,765 free Raspberry Pi desktop kits to young people since May last year. So that's what we're here for. Who are we working with? So yeah, our funders, so we need funders. We can't just give this kit away, but we do support them in other ways, like we offer support calls, and that's how I got involved with this, if people are having a problem at home setting things up. But yeah, not Staffordshire. We haven't got any funders or charity partners or schools from Staffordshire yet. Yeah, we conduct our own partner due diligence and onboarding, so we make sure that, you know, they've got everything set up to support everything, and partners are trained for technical support as well. So we train the partners, so we'd be training like people in schools, the technicians in schools or network managers in how to set up the Raspberry Pi, and we'll come on to that a bit more later. But it's not, and this is what I think we found in the past, we just, you know, we've got some funding and we're just giving Raspberry Pis out. That's not how it works now. So we've got like a survey that pops up, we can then monitor the usage of it. We've got a second survey that pops up in 3 weeks of usage as well. So we can actually see that they are getting really used really well. So who do we support? So we support young people aged 8 to 18 and in full-time education. somehow being excluded from education due to the lack of a computer. The family doesn't have resources to purchase their own computer, and they don't meet the DFE's laptop and tablet initiative. Okay, so they're not getting more and more kit. So yeah, many of these students are on free school meals. Their learning has been affected, complex issues, including poverty, inadequate housing, and mental ill health. So it's really satisfying. It's the best thing I have done at Raspberry Pi is when you put a support call in, and it's not loads of computer systems. It's literally me sitting here with a Raspberry Pi, and you know, it's so sometimes they're in women's refuges. They're in, you know, shared housing accommodation, but it's so rewarding where actually you can get someone on and using things online. One of the best things was actually nothing to do with education. It was from a young girl that was like, "Oh, this is great. I can," and she shouts out, "Oh, this is great. I can now socialize with my friends in the evening." And I thought, well, that's actually something we've not really thought about, the whole socialization bit of things. And then she, "Oh yeah, but I can do my work as well," which I thought was quite funny. Yeah, really good, really, really good. So what are we providing them with? So we started off providing them with a desktop kit. So one of these, which was inside one of these, which then you had to attach a keyboard to, which had a posh Raspberry Pi, well, not posh, but it's over there, I can't get it, a Raspberry Pi mouse and on a monitor. 21-inch monitor with headphones and a webcam, so they could do all the video video conferencing, don't call it these days, calling over VoIP over the internet to support them with their lessons. But now the latest lot that have gone out, they have what we've launched as a Raspberry Pi 400. Okay, and basically it is inside this now. It may look very similar to the keyboard, but inside this is the Pi. So if you look at the back and you're into your computers, we've got some GPIOs here. So if you still want to connect up and do something physical, but you can see all the ports. All they have to attach now, it's all wireless, is just the monitor and mouse to it. So we're finding already that this is a real game changer, because it's not, you know, the barrier to entry is lower, and they sort of know how to, like, okay, we can put a monitor in, and there was that mini HDMI, you know, that sort of thing, and put the power in. So that has really been good. We've seen support calls go down and usage go up, which is brilliant. They also get a family guidebook to the desktop kit, and technical support calls and emails we get every day. So yeah, it's that continued support that I think a lot of families in this sort of who need our support would previously have found really difficult to get over, and go, "Oh, I don't know what to do with a single chip board thingy." Yeah, but now we've come so far, and they get the kit, they know what a webcam is, they can do the headset, and they can get on quite easily. We've seen support calls go down. So how are we measuring our impact? So yeah, I've talked about analytics of tracking. We've got a survey that's repeated twice, and we also have case studies from youth workers and charity partners. And we've got a whole impact and research team at Raspberry Pi, and they monitor that, which is brilliant. And they've done a report that I'll refer you to in a moment. So what have we adapted to? What have we found? Yeah, the internet access has been an issue, definitely. And we found local partners again, some BT support as well to get things over that. Again, that comes down to a lot of work with the charity or school partners to identify who needs what. We do see some families disengaging with their caseworkers, but you have to always remember these are families that are in a really and well, I'll say a really difficult situation. So there may be a very, very valid point for them to become disengaged. Yeah, space for a desktop computer is a luxury. We found that they just haven't got space, you know, they're taking over their family TVs and stuff like that. Okay, so some feedback received so far, you can read that yourself. yeah, I like the one, I don't always enjoy doing homework, but it's better now that I have my own computer to do my work on. And we're seeing more and more of these things about, oh yeah, you know, using your parents or your own smartphone. And then even when I do webinars, you know, I sort of, you know, when I first started doing them, you presume that there's a second monitor and you go, go and have a look at this. And then, you know, they never come back and you wonder why the drop-off rate's so bad. But yeah, and doing like remote lessons, you know, and they're viewing it on a mobile phone. Yeah, it's obviously far better to have your own setup and your own desktop kit. Yeah, so it's been really, really rewarding. A lot of time and effort's been put into it in the team that organises this, and they'd look for volunteers from across the foundation, which is where I've got involved. Lots of tweets going on about it, and feedback's been amazing. So yeah, 20 new computers, 88 devices, lots of people using it. You know, that's the first survey that comes up on the screen, and that's actually the Pi 400 there, because there's no box. So yeah, straight in with a mouse, monitor, bang, done. We do. Yeah, so you can see when they get on it, they can access whatever they want to. You know, they're not limited to what they do on it. We don't limit anything. That's the headsets they get. Yeah, so you can see it working. You can see it working in real lives. So call to action really is part of the reason why I'm here as well to raise awareness. But there's no partners at all in Staffordshire, the North Staffordshire. The cost of getting one kit out is £200, and that covers the peripherals mentioned before. So the monitor, the webcam, the headset, the Raspberry Pi 400, training support and support from us for families directly. And there is an initial pilot of like, to make it viable for everything to work properly, of 10 kits via a school or charity who need to kit, whose need for kit is not being currently met. So if you know of anybody or any organization or business or anything like that want to have or get together with others and contribute, and you want it specifically to hit North Staffordshire, please get in contact. So some latest other information, these are QR codes. You can just put your phone to the screen if you want, and it'll go to these short links. So we've got a blog post quite recently published with some great sort of stats in there. So if you need to go to someone in an organization and go, look, this is the evidence, it's working elsewhere, why haven't we got it? It's brilliant to show. We've got an impact report that's linked onto that. Yeah, there you go. I used to link on my mum's phone, and then she needed it too. So really get involved and help make sure we hit every young person in North Staffordshire, and hopefully they get access to a computer at home. So we'd love to hear from you and get involved. We've got a short link there that will take you to a donate page. Again, you can put in your message, you want more details about something, or contact us. And yeah, we can make it local, which is really important. And that's how it's worked. Local charities, local schools benefit from this low entry point of getting connected and learning. You can email directly to our partners. No, that's right. To the partners team at the Raspberry Pi Foundation. They will, you know, talk to you about how much you want to donate, where you want it to go. They will ask you to, you know, and they will work out alongside me probably and a couple of other people about what schools or charities to partner with, and if there's been any people wanting these things, and we can marry them up. Or you can email me, matt.hogan@raspberrypi.org. I'll be happy to, you know, tell you a bit more about it. I'm not an expert in like partnerships and stuff like that. I'm a learning manager and a teacher, but yeah, I can obviously talk you through sort of what we envisaged or what can be done with this PiDrop project. So thank you very much. You know, well worth having a look at this, and yeah, it's the sort of best thing I've done at the Raspberry Pi Foundation. Totally. You know, writing online courses for training teachers is fun, or cheap teachers is fantastic. Creating lots of amazing resources is great as well. But yeah, this gets directly into disadvantaged young people's homes to make digital and computing available to them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matt. Thanks for that. That's really, really interesting and a really important project. And as you pointed out, there is really currently no take up of this initiative in our area. So it'd be great to be able to correct that going forward.
Charlie, did you say people could put questions and answers in?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, use the Q&A box. That's right. If anybody's interested or has any specific questions, please use the Q&A box.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you. So just moving on then to the main focus, which is Rachel and the wonders of STEM ambassadors. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Charlie. Okay, bear with me because I'm a bit of a Zoom novice, so I'll just try and share my screen. We're always on Teams at work, so hopefully this should come up for you. Oh, click the button. Right, I'm hoping you can see that now, but it's gone onto my other screen, so apologies if you can see me and I'm not looking at you.
Yes, we can see that, and we can also see your video too, Rachel. So
brilliant,
it's working. Thank you.
Great stuff. So I'm Rachel Stacey, and my role, I'm the program coordinator for the STEM Ambassador Hub for Staffordshire and Shropshire area. And the aim of today, Charlie's kindly asked me to come and talk to you about what the STEM Ambassador Programme is about, and actually give you an opportunity to hear from two of our local STEM ambassadors and one of our local schools about the benefits of being a STEM ambassador and the benefits to schools as well from using STEM ambassadors. So I will click over here and hopefully it will move. Oh, there we go. So what are STEM ambassadors? So the government realised that there is going to be an enormous skills gap because the majority of people, professionals working in the STEM area are approaching a retirement age, or they were. I think it's getting better now, but we're moving towards retirement age, and they realised that actually when those people retired, we weren't encouraging young people into STEM careers to fill those gaps that were being left, but equally we weren't growing the new kind of managers and leaders within those STEM professions as well. So the DfE has awarded STEM learning funding so that they can actually develop the STEM Ambassador Programme and address that skills gap. So STEM ambassadors, they're volunteers. They come from a wide range of STEM industries. So that's your science, your technology, your engineering, your maths. Obviously your technology is your computing element of that. They offer their time completely free of charge to schools. In the UK, we've got 33,000 STEM ambassadors registered with STEM learning. In the West Midlands, we've got 3,500, and in Staffordshire and Shropshire alone, we've got 800 registered with us. As you can see from the map here, there are 19 different STEM ambassador hubs in the UK. So it could well be that if you did sign up following today's session, you might not be in the Staffordshire hub. So it depends on your postcode, but all of the hubs work together, and you can volunteer for any opportunities across the whole of the UK. So it doesn't matter which hub you're in, you can still volunteer wherever you work, wherever suits you really. At the bottom of this slide, there's a video as well, where you can watch that obviously in your own time. I won't put it on for you now, but that gives you a little bit more insight into the type of STEM ambassadors that we've got and what they do. So what do STEM ambassadors do? Why do we have STEM ambassadors? So they support and inspire, and they support and inspire a whole range of people, so not just young people. They provide tangible local role models for young people, and that's why we have the local hubs, so that we can make those local links for you. They bring the real world context to the classroom, which I think is one of the most important parts of what STEM ambassadors do. They really help young people to see why the bit of maths that they're doing, or the bit of coding that they're doing, why is that relevant? Why am I learning that today? And how will I use that again in the future? And that's a real benefit that STEM ambassadors bring. They raise the aspirations of young people. Again, another benefit of having local STEM ambassadors is that people can see people that come from their own area, from similar backgrounds, have got these great careers in these really thriving industries. So they're really great at raising those expectations of young people in our area, especially in our deprived areas as well. And also they challenge stereotypes. So for our hub, about 46% are females, and we've been working really hard kind of to address the stereotype that actually all STEM roles are for men. So yeah, so we have a lot of STEM ambassadors that are kind of signposting young girls into these careers, into computing as well. So yeah, that's a key part of what STEM ambassadors do. So how do they do this? So there's a whole number of ways that STEM ambassadors volunteer, and it can be anything from kind of a one-off. Some of our ambassadors just volunteer once a year, and they take part in something that their company's doing, and they'll just take part just on that one occasion. But other ambassadors, they take part in kind of more sustained STEM clubs in schools. I say there's a list there. I won't read you all the way through those because I know we've got lots to get through today. But yeah, that's how they can, or how STEM ambassadors can actually support schools. So what's the impact of those STEM ambassadors? So it's a far-reaching impact because, as I've said already, they have an impact on the young people that they are supporting, but they also have an impact on teachers as well, because one thing that our STEM ambassadors do is support teachers in areas that they may not be specialists in. So especially, for example, computing, and we've just heard Neil talk about teachers going through the accelerator training. It could be, especially in schools now, that those teachers aren't specialists, they don't come from that computing background. And actually a real benefit of having a STEM ambassador linked to your school is that you can get that expertise. So you can say, oh, I'm teaching that this term. I really could do with understanding that a little bit more. And a STEM ambassador can do that. So a STEM ambassador isn't all, if you are one, it's not always about interacting with young people or doing hands-on stuff. It's actually supporting the professionals as well. It has a positive impact as well for your employer. Bear with me a second while I just take a drink. You'll notice I talk very fast. Yes, so for your employer, it's a great way for your employer to kind of hit their CSR targets. It helps to develop the staff as well. And then lastly, for yourselves as individuals, it's a great opportunity to kind of grow yourself and to find opportunities and find more things that you enjoy. So now I'm going to hand over to Tim, who's one of our STEM ambassadors, who we're very, very proud to have as one of our Staffordshire ambassadors. And he's going to share with you, I'll just stop sharing, his experience of being a STEM ambassador. Thanks, Tim.
I was going to request control, Rachel, and just and do it that way, but give me a second and I will start up my version of the presentation. Here we go. All right, so okay, no problem. Okay, let's share my screen. Okay. And if I pop that into there. Okay. So just as a bit of background, good evening, everybody. My name is Tim Chapman. I'm part of Fujitsu's enterprise and cybersecurity business. And so I spend most of my daytime working in cybersecurity and delivering secure solutions to our customers, both in the UK and all over the world. I'm also part of the Fujitsu Distinguished Engineer community, and then obviously I've got this one I'm going to talk about tonight, which is about being the STEM ambassador. My background, I actually studied business information technology at Staffordshire University, and I've been working in IT now for over 20 years, and I've been with Fujitsu for the last 16. So what I'm going to do is take you through a few of the things that I've been doing over the last couple of years. My sort of time as a STEM ambassador started in 2013 when Code Club presented to our distinguished engineer community and basically wanted to get people involved and wanted them to help out at local clubs. I sort of talked to my kids at the time, wanted to know if they ran any sort of clubs like this at school. And within a very short space of time, I'd been in, spoken to my daughter's school, and was in running a code club on a Thursday night. And I've been doing that since about 2014, 2015, so sort of 6 years now. We're still getting 30 kids every week. We've got year 5s doing Scratch, we've got year 6s doing Python, and then our year 7s and 8s are now running in the Lego League, which takes place in Stoke, which is using the Lego Mindstorm robots, and they basically do challenges and things with the robots and get them doing different things. On the back of that, I got put in touch with the Engineering Development Trust, who were doing a lot of work in Stoke-on-Trent with a lot of the schools in Stoke. So the Engineering Development Trust come in and do what are called STEM days. I originally started off attending a couple of schools in Stoke where I came in to do a 5-10 minute presentation on what I do, things that I get involved in with work, and basically talking about how STEM relates to a career in cybersecurity. And very quickly, I went from being there for 5 to 10 minutes to spending whole days with the kids. I tended to find that due to the nature of just going in for 10 minutes, we weren't getting a lot of questions. The sort of interaction wasn't great. And I think it was that sort of introduction of somebody new. So I started going in and talking to the kids more, and it proved to be a far better way of working for me. I got more out of it, and I could also answer questions that the kids were asking throughout the day. Something I got involved in with work is the T-levels. Fujitsu have been heavily involved in the whole process of the T-levels, and we had 3 people from the organization involved in the development of the new T-level qualifications for digital. I sat on the digital support services panel, so I know all about what the kids are going to be doing over the 2 years that they study from 16 to 18, the levels of the qualifications when they come out, and also the specialisms that were created. So we had pretty much a year of core subjects that the students will learn. And then from that, there are 4 specialisms in the digital support services that they can then go on and focus on different areas of IT and technology. Since then, I'm now going to be involved in a cyber-specific one that we are currently looking at. And then keeping on the cyber side, as part of Fujitsu, we got involved with the University Technical Colleges, and these are organizations that take kids from 11 right through to 18. And they wanted to get more involved in cyber, but also they wanted to work with us to build a pipeline of ready skilled students that could come out straight and work into the industry. This one was a really interesting one. This is, for those of you who may or may not know, Dr. Sue Black. She was heavily involved in the saving of Bletchley Park, and has a book based all around the work that she did to save Bletchley Park. She created what's called Tech Up Women, and it was basically taking 100 women from underrepresented backgrounds and giving them a second opportunity in a career in IT. And they did a 12-month program where they taught them all sorts of new skills, did presenting skills, communication skills, all sorts of things like that, and then connected that with IT so that they could go out and start looking at different roles that they could take part in. And the last one that I've recently been involved with, this is a level 4 qualification with the Institute for Apprenticeships, focused on cybersecurity, and getting more students involved and trying to bridge the skills gap that we've currently got in the cybersecurity space. We're in a position now where, because of a serious shortage of skills, it's significantly driving salaries up, and because of that, and because of the lack of people with relevant skills, organisations are basically cherry picking the best staff from one another. And so what we're trying to do is bridge that gap by creating relevant qualifications that students can take, and hopefully start closing that gap, that skills gap that we've got. And lastly, from me, a bit of shameful promotion. This was me 12 months ago when I was awarded Outstanding New STEM Ambassador of the Year. This was from the STEM Inspiration Awards, and I went down and received this award from Vivian Parry, for those of you who may remember from Tomorrow's World. So that was a great achievement. It kind of makes you know, we don't do these sorts of things for the awards, and it's all about the sort of feedback you get from the kids, and making it, that's what makes it worthwhile. So but this was nice. It was recognition, you know, that what you're doing is being noticed, and it's just a really enjoyable thing to do. So I'll stop sharing my screen. And you okay, Rachel?
Well, I'm going to hand over now to Stuart Ward. So thank you, Tim, for that. That was brilliant.
No,
we're very proud of you being the STEM Ambassador, new STEM Ambassador of the Year. Very well deserved. It was nice when we got to go for a day out, wasn't it?
It was lovely, yeah, it was.
It's been a long time since we've been anywhere.
It does seem a long time ago.
So yes, Stuart Ward is another local ambassador. He's been with us for quite a while, and again from a computing background. So he's come along to speak to you as well and share what he does. So over to you, Stuart.
Thank you. Right, can everybody hear and see me to start with? Just because I'm into the Zoom, not very good. Right, I've got some pictures to go with the little talk, just so I don't bore you too much. Let's have a look, share screen, and I want to share, where's my PowerPoint? Not the one with the, is it that one? Hang on, I've got to get it going first. I don't want to share my notes as well, do I? No, right, okay, let's have a look. There we go, right. Whoops, I've lost my Zoom now, where are we? Share screen, right. It is screen 1, screen 2, that's the one. Right, can everybody see that slide?
Yes, Stuart, thank you.
Oh, excellent. Right, a little bit about myself then. I'm a software developer, about 34 years altogether. Spent 2 tours on RAF software teams on the Nimrod and Tornado doing weapon aiming, navigation type stuff. I then joined a Stoke company in 2002 called Terrafix Limited, and they do navigation and communication systems primarily for the ambulance service and the police and security forces. Really, I do a bit of everything there. So everything from embedded code on trackers to support apps in C#, and then all the web stuff at the back end, JavaScript, PHP, MySQL, sort of a bit of everything really. So really interesting job. And I really got I've always been into computing and stuff like that. And I think it was around 2012 when the Raspberry Pi came out, and they started asking for volunteers for Code Club. So I went on the Code Club site and found a local school that were asking for a volunteer. And it all started there really. And this first slide is just really to show that's what we're looking for, is nice smiley faces, children with a real sense of achievement. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Where are we? I've lost my notes. There we go. Right, so I started out on my own really, and I sort of could only give technical assistance to the children in the club, and I didn't really have much idea of a lot of the other stuff involved, like some of the stuff Tim was talking about just now. It was really, and probably still is, mostly hands-on with the technical side of it. I have a helper now in the guise of Mark Pritchard, who is also a software engineer that helps out, and that's really good, because really guidance and encouragement is what we're trying to give the children that we're working with. After leaving the school in Cannock, Lichfield, in fact it was Tim Wilson that put me on to Lichfield Library, and we started a club there, and that sort of ballooned quite well. And the picture you see on the screen at the moment is Kerborough Community Centre, which we'd sort of run a Saturday session at Kerborough with Raspberry Pi and Microbit, and then on a Tuesday evening in the library we'd do Scratch for the younger members. And I've got teamwork on that slide because, as you can see, we like to get people working together rather than solitary. There's a brother and sister team there who don't get on very well at home, but when they were at Code Club, they really did do well together. Another members here of the what are they? Training Corps. So we took Code Club on road trip to RAF Cosford in 2018 and 2019. This was very much made possible by the guys at Entrust for organising things like third-party liability insurance, the stand for the day, and also the pop-up boards, so that we could actually promote the STEM ambassador theme, as well as just the Code Club that we were really there to do. That I'm hoping we can return to that next year. We'll have had 2 years of COVID preventing us doing that. There are enthusiastic parents. Yes, there's an enthusiastic parent, which I always welcome at the Code Clubs as well, to try and keep control a bit while we're trying to help everyone. Never too old to learn. This lady came on the stand and was amazed to see the BBC B Micro, and then told us that she'd actually written an accounting package back in the 80s for it. She sat there for quite a while playing Galaxians, if I remember rightly. Real world computing. Well, I'm a big believer in connecting bits and pieces to computers. So while it was nice in the early days to see the children doing Scratch and seeing things happening on the computer screen, what was really nice to get going were things like the Raspberry Pi and the Microbit, and connecting real peripherals to computers, switches, motors, LEDs, and we've even got little robots that use microbits, and the interface is very much the same as Scratch. So we've got block programming editors, and we can do JavaScript and Python with some of the more advanced. There's another one. We've done our own little experiments. This one with a microbit was for determining the speed of a vehicle, and we sort of scaled everything down for this, and that was quite fun to do. Sounds interesting. I think I put this slide in because I found out in the early days when I was at the school, one child managed to find the sound section in Scratch, and then the whole class found the sound section in Scratch, and we couldn't hear ourselves for the noise. So I do sort of recommend now that children bring headphones and stuff so that they can carry on enjoying adding sound to their programs, but especially in the library, and not at the annoyance of everyone else. My company that I work for provided us with several Raspberry Pis and also this Vex IQ robot, which is really a big hit with the children, that one. There we are, picking up barrels and boxes. I think I put that slide in to show some of the materials that Entrust can provide. So although we took Code Club on the road, we did have a few of these space materials kits in 2019, and I believe they had a space themed hangar at Cosford, and that did go down really well, the space materials kit. And there's Tim. So yes, organise a visit from Code Club HQ to your Code Club. I can't remember when that was, Tim, 2018 maybe?
Yeah, 2018.
2017.
It was a very hot day.
Yes, it was. It was. I think that day you visited, we were talking about rules and regulations that the children had come up with, sort of the etiquette that they were following in Code Club, which sort of followed things like bullying and helping others and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a very welcome visit, Tim, indeed. So now, over the last 2 years, I have been fairly quiet, to be honest, but we've been trying to get an online presence, and the Lichfield Library and Kerborough Community Centre have got a Facebook page, which is fairly well subscribed, but we really need a bit more of a take-up from the parents, really, I think, to get this going. And the guy that's working with me, Mark Pritchard, has started a Discord server, and we do have 2 or 3 children on there who are using Unity at the moment. So they started out with Scratch, well, way back in 2016-17, and they're now using Blender and Unity to produce nice little 2D games and 3D games. Also, we're using GitHub to share software. So yeah, at the moment we're looking for a way back in. It'd be nice when we can all get back together in person, I think. But this is a really good area to try and discover at the moment. So that's me in a nutshell, really. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stuart. That's brilliant, and so many great examples of kind of how you can get involved as a computing specialist STEM ambassador, and also really lovely to see exactly what Neil was saying. We do try and work in that joined up way, and we do try and share everything, all the good practice that's in our local area. So yeah, as you can see, Tim and Stuart have worked together previously, and yeah, a really nice example of that. So now I'm going to hand us over to Gordon. So Gordon has joined us from Walton Priory Middle School to give us the school's perspective on really the benefits of using STEM ambassadors and kind of the pros and cons of using them as well. He's going to give us both sides of the story. Thanks, Gordon.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Okay, there's just something in the way if I can't see my slideshow. Okay, can you see that? Can you hear me?
Yes, Gordon, thank you. We're getting you loud and clear. Thank you.
I just need to set some credentials at the moment. Walton Priory Middle School is a small school, 500 children, and we are astonishingly good at STEM. And a lot of that comes through the ambassadors who help us. I'm talking mainly about extracurricular STEM, although we do have some STEM ambassadors help us with curriculum development as well. Extracurricular STEM and competitions is what we do. While we're talking about credentials, forgive me showing off. Last year I was Engineering Teacher of the Year, won £8,000 for the school. And so that's really to say we kind of know what we're doing. I think that's fair enough to say. STEM ambassadors in school. I'm going to say something controversial at the moment. We have not had any exam success due to our STEM ambassadors. What we have had is everything you see on the left. STEM club is booming, children work independently, the parents love it, there's lots of careers taught, but local businesses, social media, it's a good thing. But in terms of children making progress in their academic studies, not just the STEM ambassadors, but the extracurricular stuff that we do doesn't help. Having said that, we do win a lot of things. We won £22,000 last year. We've won 30-odd thousand pounds over 3 years, and it's all gone into STEM. It's all gone into STEM activities. I think Ernie is actually online as one of the participants here, and Ernie is has the accolade of being our most useful STEM ambassador. I'm saying that with great joy and thanks. If you are a STEM ambassador, I think Tim highlighted this as well, you have to make relationships and you have to go and turn up every week. This is an after-school club with an energy generating staircase, and Ernie is unbelievable because he comes and works with many children over and over again. I know this is the British Computing Society. We tend to use data logging. Last year we had a project with Raspberry Pis that didn't particularly work. Ernie had to come in and rescue us from that. Ernie also worked with some Big Bang finalists we had last year, and I think, Ernie won't mind me saying this, I think the only problem we had in this project was that Ernie's level of knowledge was far higher than the girls, and the girls kind of struggled to keep up with what Ernie was doing. So there is these girls were only 11 at the time, so there is an issue about STEM ambassadors being either overqualified or too smart or whatever. You have to realize who it is that you're working with. If you are going in to school for a one-off on a careers day or to talk, we love people who are self-contained. This was really interesting. The date is 2019 on this, and this young lady from AstraZeneca came in to teach the children about fighting pandemics, not realizing that exactly 1 year and 2 days later, we would be doing the real thing. But as you can see, the children were infected with spots on their faces. Face masks help prevent them getting spots and infections. There was washing your hands and gloves and all the rest of it. And the children loved it. Dr. Saunders dealt with groups of 20, 25 children on a rota. They came in, they came out, and she brought everything with her. Please don't come into schools wanting us to do photocopying or whatever. If you need it, tell us in advance. That's not a problem. But we love people who come self-contained and who can deal with fairly big groups. Again, this is following on what Tim said as well. You have to build a relationship over some time. Wayne Park on the left there is our computing teacher, but he does everything else. And in many of the schools that you visit, the person you're trying to speak to is not a specialist in your subject and is teaching hundreds of children. I counted up for Wayne today. Today, Wayne had 143 different children in his room. That's one teacher, one classroom, 143 children. And they were all different children. He speaks on the phone to parents. His pay progression depends on the academic progress. And most of his days are gigantic versions of musical chairs. So if you want to come in and you want to talk to Wayne and discuss things and have a plan, you need to give us some time. Now, we've had STEM ambassadors come in once and we've fallen out with them and they've gone away again. And I think it's the expectations have broken down. We don't really know what to expect with when they come in, and they've expected something entirely different from us. The other thing that's obviously, is that if you're working with children, who are you going to work with? Do you want to work with the top 3 or 4 brightest kids in the class, or are you prepared to work with the clowns? And every school has clowns. They're great fun. They're good everything's great with them, but for somebody who wants to do computing or coding, dealing with the clowns is something that the teachers deal with all the time, and the STEM ambassadors may choose not to. And I think my last point is that the children in this normal school have a vast range of abilities. The difference between the brightest child and the weakest child is unbelievable. Bright children pick up stuff instantly, they remember it forever, and other children, you can tell them something at 9 o'clock in the morning and it's gone by 10 past 9. It's a colossal range that we have. And the other thing, of course, is they're generalists. They are taught 7, 8, 9 subjects. They've all got history homework, they've all got maths homework. And if you want them to concentrate on something, you have to realize that it has to fit in with their day. I am extremely positive about STEM ambassadors. They provide a great deal to school and a great deal of help. But please be aware that schools are busy and complicated places, and to fit in with that takes a bit of dedication. And the little comment at the bottom there, what are we all getting from it? Is it for children? Is it for your companies? Is it for the teachers? Just be honest about who's doing it and what. If you need to talk to me at any time, I'm delighted to help or comment or what we're doing. Ernie, if you're listening to this, we can't wait to see you again after Easter. Ernie's not been in since July, I think, and we have a pile of things ready for you, Ernie. I hope you've got your laptop ready. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon. And one of the things that the hub tries to do is kind of broker that relationship. So it's great to hear from the school's perspective as well, because industry and education are two completely different worlds. Yes. Yeah, our role at the hub is to kind of facilitate that relationship. And I think those messages about it's understanding and having those expectations right at the beginning when you're volunteering as a STEM ambassador, and also as a school when you know that a STEM ambassador is coming in. It's that communication between the two is so important, just to make sure, like you say, that there are no fallings out, and that STEM ambassadors, it's really important for us that they feel valued at the school, but equally that they are of value to the school as well. So,
yes, I think schools are always nervous if you're told, oh, there's an expert coming in to help. It's a little bit, yeah, it's a bit daunting really, and it's like a consultant coming into a company, and you need to go slowly and take a couple of months to settle in.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
But it was lovely to see all the smiling faces as well, and I think all of the STEM ambassadors have kind of alluded to the fact that that's why you become a STEM ambassador, to put those smiles on kids' faces and to kind of really inspire them and yeah.
Yeah, it was good fun. I mean, it's insane. It's really good fun. Really good fun.
I'm going to reshare my screen now quickly, because I've just got another couple of slides, so hopefully this will work before I'm done. I keep forgetting to click share. There we are. So if anybody is interested in becoming a STEM ambassador and joining the programme, it's really simple to do so. I'll ask Charlie to send around the slides, if possible, to the people that have attended today. We'll make them available to you, so you can kind of click the links there. But the main one to note is the www.stem.org.uk. So once you go onto that website, you can find out all the information about being a STEM ambassador there. My contact details are on there as well. And then let me see. Oh, I have put it on there. So just to say finally that when you are a STEM ambassador, you do then have access to these. I'm not quite sure what to call them, but you receive an ID card, kind of an official ID card, to say that you are a STEM ambassador, part of the volunteering programme. You get a lovely shiny pin badge as well that you can wear on your lanyard when we actually do get back into the offices and schools. You also get digital badges as well, which are great things to put on LinkedIn profiles or on email signatures. I know Tim's got his on his already. And also from our hub, you get a certificate that recognises how many hours you've given as a STEM ambassador. So they come out every time you reach a milestone of volunteering hours. So there's some nice nice bits in there just to kind of recognise what you do by giving your time as a STEM ambassador. So yeah, so that's it from me. I'll hand back over to Charlie now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rachel, Gordon, Stuart, and Tim. That was excellent. Really, really insightful, and lots of information there for us all to take in. And I guess having the real world examples from our local STEM ambassadors and local receivers of the STEM ambassadors really helps frame what it's all about, really. So that's great. Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of our formal presentations. So thank you all for your time today. Just looking to see if there are any questions. There's nothing in the Q&A box currently. So I just wondered if anybody has any questions. I've got one. I don't want to use chair's prerogative here. I'll wait, really. But while we are waiting, I've got a question for Gordon, actually. Gordon, you mentioned that the STEM ambassador or the STEM links that you've had didn't really have any impact on grades, on results, really. And I just wondered, was that for any particular reason? Is that just the way it works? Do you think? Is it the fact that because it is extracurricular, therefore it is to supplement the interest of the young learners? Or do you think there's something more fundamental going on? Just interested in your view, really.
Think if you take this, I've been in schools for 30 years, and I've done projects with children, engineering projects, extracurricular stuff for a long time. And it hits every other button, and it does enthuse children a little bit. But the curriculum, the exam curriculum, is very specific. And unless you're doing exam revision or topics that are on the exam, it's not going to help. In terms, I know this is perhaps not what you want to hear if you're Raspberry Pi coding people, but what our children really need is practice on Excel spreadsheets, because Excel spreadsheets come up in the exam and they don't do very well. But you're not going to get, nobody's going to turn up for a spreadsheet club. So it's that kind of focus, and I say that as somebody who has done. It was pointed out to me by a manager years ago. He said, "This is all very good, Gordon, but it's not making any difference to your exam results." And that's, you might disagree, but if you're not hitting if you're not practicing for an exam, you're not making a difference to the exam. And this is the way high schools are working now.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult because there's so many revision clubs on after school. It's quite hard to get extracurricular clubs on after school because everybody's revising for, pardon my language, bloody exams.
Yeah. I mean, I think I completely understand your response, really. I think if you've got a mismatch between, I guess, the curriculum that's being examined,
yes,
and if that's driving out the I wouldn't say the fun, but you know what I mean, yes. the kind of the application of the technology maybe in hand, then I can see that. But I guess probably turning it into a positive without the STEM ambassador involvement, then that element's probably going to get squeezed out completely.
Yes, I agree.
Because there isn't time.
Yeah.
So I guess whilst the STEM ambassador involvement isn't necessarily driving grades, that's not its purpose, because that's, I guess you could argue, that's what the mainstream education is about, really.
Yeah. Yes.
And I guess if young learners, particularly the younger learners, aren't going to see the application of the technology, maybe they kind of won't be able to say, well, look, it's like jam tomorrow. It's like, well, I've got to do this exam to get my exams, but actually I can see what's in the future, So yeah, interesting. Thank you very much.
I think what we are doing, I'm in a middle school, and we're certainly influencing option choices. I'm not sure we're influencing careers, but we're making sure children enjoy D&T, they enjoy computing, they enjoy the STEM subjects with us, because we have a lot of fun. I mean, we have such a lot of fun. and then it opens their eyes to say, well, STEM is fun. But in terms of GCSE computing science, is a tough GCSE, and we need to get children to go for it with expert teachers.
Thank you. So I just want, again, there's nothing in the Q&A, so I wondered if any of the other panelists had got a view. Oh, Matt, yeah, Matt's got his hand up, as has Rachel. So, Matt, do you want to go first? I think you're on mute. I think you've done what I did.
No, there's such a important link with like anything beyond the curriculum, because it's the way you get people enthused and engaged with the subject. Yeah, being a teacher of computing GCSE, some of those topics aren't the most amazing topics to try and engage students with, Yeah. So, but then actually going to a code club or doing some STEM ambassador stuff, that's where you get your students involved. That's where you get them, and it's not always the top ability. There's some really good, the ones that get missed out just go along in the middle. Suddenly, wow, there's a spark, and it's like, right, okay, they're involved and they want to do computer science GCSE. They want to take that beyond. They can see the relevance of stuff. They can see the point in learning. They can see it being part of their everyday world. So there's always, I've looked at research where you try to measure impact of stuff, whatever that project is, and we're doing the same thing in the NCC and stuff like that. But it's really hard to measure direct impact of anything, even if you are providing resources and stuff. There's so much variables out there with students' own lives. But indirectly, there is evidence, there is teachers all over the country that will say, and educators that will say, it's just engaging the students, which is important. And that's where it's got its most significant impact, definitely.
Can I just, yes, I didn't mean to be quite so controversial in my thing. I was trying to just say that, yeah, I agree with everything Matt's saying. It's wonderful to see children spark like this. But the children who go to STEM club aren't going to improve their grades because of that, as far as I can see.
Thanks, Gordon. Rachel, you had your hand up next, I think.
Yes, yeah, it was probably to say something similar to Matt, but also to agree, Gordon. Do you know what I mean? I know that for schools, the priority is your grades, because that's what you're judged on. Yes, but what I think is so lovely is that your school does so much what we call enrichment, so enriching the curriculum, because I think students these days are just they're so intensively learning all the time that actually the STEM club and the STEM ambassadors, they provide that fun element. And I think, as Matt said, they provide that spark to say, actually, this, I don't feel like I'm learning now, but they are learning while they're doing something fun, so they're absorbing that without feeling like they're being taught as such. And I think for STEM ambassadors as well, it's quite reassuring to know that the expectation on them is not to support the curriculum as such, is not for them to have to know the curriculum inside out. It's about them just coming and sharing what they love and sharing their passion with students, and inspiring those students to say, do you know what, actually, I really enjoyed that activity that we did with that particular person. I'm going to have a look at that career, or like you say, even just choose that subject. From my own personal perspective, I didn't know what to choose at university, and I didn't have a clue, and I wasn't even going to go. And then I saw an amazing film when I was 17, 18, called The Net, with Sandra Bullock. And it looked amazing. And she got to work at home and order pizza online. And it just seemed amazing. So I chose to go and do computer science at university so I could be Sandra Bullock. And that's kind of the STEM ambassador program, is that you can't be what you can't see. So if you can see these great role models, that's your inspiration. So that's all I was going to add.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Stuart, I think you were next.
Gordon came up with so many amazing points there. But what I tried to find out a couple of years ago was whether we, when we're teaching the kids programming in particular, and we're using words like loops, iteration, sequence, repetition. What I wanted to do was make sure that the terminology that I was using was harmonized to any curriculum. And I think that's very important.
Yes.
I don't want to
yes.
be starting to put terms in their heads, especially slang terms. Sometimes terms we use in a sense of fun, but they weren't the real definitions. And maybe if the real definitions were a bit tricky to get your head around or learn, it was quite important that they actually did. So I'm with you in that respect. And I think maybe STEM ambassadors with the right level of knowledge could actually bring something to the curriculum in an extracurricular or an after school way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Stuart. Neil, you're next.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Gordon's right in that there's no demonstrable impact directly on those grades, but it's all of those extra things that these STEM ambassadors bring and the opportunities provide. So, for instance, the Big Bang Fair over at the NEC is a fantastic opportunity for students to get out of their comfort zone. I worked at a very rural school in South Shropshire, and I would take the whole of year 9 over 2 days to the other side of Birmingham. And I think really for me, it was summed up when on one trip to the Big Bang Fair, we were going down onto the slip road of the motorway, and a year 9, so this is like a 14-year-old child, picked up the phone and called his mum and said, "Mum, we're going on a motorway." 14, and he'd never been on a motorway, and this was the highlight of the day for him. And then there was another trip I organised to a book launch at the Birmingham City Library about new optimists, and one of the presenters was transgender, and the students were totally transfixed by this idea, and it really got them out of that little bubble. And these were sort of 15-year-olds, they were sort of year 10 going into year 11, and they just couldn't quite work it out. And it's all about those extra experiences, those extra life experiences that STEM ambassadors can offer, and they do have a very positive impact on their lives. So, you know, it's really well worth getting involved with.
Thank you, Neil. And Tim Wilson, you wanted to, I think, chip in there.
Yeah, well, I could comment quite loads of things here. I just wanted to pick up on Jonathan Westlake's quick question in the Q&A, and I think it kind of relates to where I was going. First of all, I think really a lot, and it relates to a lot of other things that have been said. How do you make? I think it's about helping students firstly kind of understand the relevance of computing. So very much related to making future career choices. So, you know, the people that come in from industry really help make that case for its relevance. I think Rachel's pointed out also links to popular culture. The net is a very good example, but there are loads of ways. I think one of the teachers in our network talked recently about how she took the scene from Mission Impossible, where Tom Cruise is diving down to diving down to get through various layers of security, and they took apart that entire scene over like a whole lesson, and made it relevant to them in terms of how, the potential implications, security side, and all of those kind of things. So popular culture is important, and then also as Neil said, what's local, but also what's regional. How do we get kids' mobility improved by going to events like Big Bang Fair? There's an initiative out there called Neon Futures, which is an initiative of Engineering UK, which is about giving teachers, young people experiences, both virtual and in person, and giving them access to bursaries as well where relevant, so they can go on these trips. So it's all about unlocking that, and I also do that with the utmost sort of understanding of where Gordon is coming from around things, around those core skills as well. But it is really important to excite students' aspirations and interests too, because they have to make those choices later now coming up to GCSE, and getting them really excited, getting them creative, getting them imagining at primary starts at Key Stage 1 and goes all the way through from there. So that's me. I'm going to waffle otherwise. It's late. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it is getting late. So I think, Jonathan, hopefully that answered your question. And I think we can probably bring things to a conclusion. What I would say is that clearly, I know I used the word expert and but clearly when you guys are talking, you can really see the passion that's there and the understanding of some of the issues. And whilst you haven't got all the answers, the point is that you're willing to work together collectively, all these different organizations, with the sole purpose of bringing these young learners forward, and nicely wrapping up by making IT good for society, because I think that's the point really, that by sparking that interest in what these young learners have got and giving them the extracurricular activity, it does support hopefully the core curriculum and certainly supports their choices for the future. So I want to thank you all, not just for this evening, but for all the work that you're doing for young learners. And I would like to bring the evening to a close. So thank you also to the attendees for coming along and giving up your evening. This is being recorded, so we will put this recording on the North Staffordshire website link somehow or other. I'll work out how we do that. And hopefully also we can get copies of the presentations. I know there's been some shared, but hopefully I can get them together maybe and put it in a single maybe PDF format or something that people can consume, as well as the recording. So thank you all very much for your time, and I wish you all a pleasant evening. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.